Hey guys, Yasin and Byron here. I'm here with Fantasy Life app. Byron's here with Rosterwatch. We're going to do what we do every week, which is answer as many start-sit questions as possible and try to break down as many games as possible as well. So if you have questions, ask them on YouTube or on Facebook Live, where we'll be able to track your comments. So Byron, we had a great week 8. I think some people were concerned with the performance of some of their players. I think some people are looking for clarity around Seattle's backfield this week. And I'm not confident we're going to get clarity until later today with regards to Chris Carson. So I imagine there's going to be a lot of questions about that, but we will be breaking down things as news comes out today over the next hour and 5 minutes or so. So Byron, why don't we kick it off with let's go Houston and Jacksonville. Who do you have in these matchups? What do you think about Deshaun Watson this week?
Well, that's the first thing that stands out to me, Yasin, is that we have Deshaun Watson ranked as our number 3 quarterback of the week at rosterwatch.com. That seems to be basically the industry consensus. What we've seen out of Watson is even though it was a slow start, he really started to heat up with that offense in recent weeks. It feels a little bit of aggressive just based on the season that he's had to date. But, boy, if you own Watson, you're feeling really good on the season at this point, rest of the season at this point, and you're feeling really good this week with the Texans at the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a 50.5 point projected game total by Vegas. Now, surprisingly, the Texans are 6.5 point favorites in this game, which is they're not massive favorites. So I don't think that really affects the projected game script that much, especially in this particular matchup that I think it could go any way there and turn into a bonanza. So it's a sea of blue on the matchup tool at rosterwatch.com for the Houston Texans. What does that mean? That means it's excellent matchups across the board for the quarterbacks, the running backs, the wide receivers, and the tight ends. And I think just given the fact that David Johnson and Duke Johnson are the receiving type of running backs, that all of these arrows point directly back to Deshaun Watson on the Texans side of the ball this week. And, of course, though, you could start all the skill positions. I mean, if you own Fuller, I think you're grateful he wasn't traded to the Packers. You want to keep that continuity he's had as just a standout wide receiver for fantasy purposes on the season. Brandy Cooks, if you own him, you're starting to feel a lot better about plugging him in every week if you need to. And then, David Johnson has been anything but spectacular this season, but from a fantasy perspective, Yasin, especially in a matchup like this, he seems to at least be able to plug along and, get it done as a running back 2, running back 3 on our rosters. And I think that'll continue this week as well.
Cool. Let's head over to answer some questions. We have AC asking Herbert or Josh Allen in a 6-point touchdown league. Who do you have, Herbert or Josh Allen this week?
I personally have Justin Herbert. Our cumulative rankings have Josh Allen at home in the number 2 matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. It's a bigger expected game total, so I think can't go wrong really, but I'll go with the cumulative here, Josh Allen.
So it's close. Don't be upset with either one.
I think you could put a blindfold on and pick either one of those guys and feel pretty good about it.
Cool.
Man.
What about Deontay Johnson versus Mike Evans? I'm personally going Mike Evans, 1-point PPR.
Yeah, we have Mike Evans. Yep. Mike Evans in the top 12, our number 12 wide receiver. And he's going to get a slight edge there over Deontay.
Cool.
Deontay more of a lower wide receiver too.
Okay. I agree with those, by the way. I think most people are going to see Deontay as a risky option after his performance last week anyway. So I think Mike Evans is a safer play. I know some people might be upset with his performance lately as well, or his potential target share being impacted. So let's talk about that for a second. Can we talk about Antonio Brown? I'm getting a ton of questions in the app itself about Antonio Brown. What do you think?
I think he's a good own the rest of the season. I mean, obviously he needs to be rostered. I'm pretty sure at this point he's, widely rostered. And, I guess your question is, can you start him this week? I think you can if you have to. I mean, I'd like to treat him as a wide receiver 3 or as a flex, but he's a decent option. I mean, he's got the rapport with Brady. He knows this offense a little bit. Godwin's a little bit banged up. I think it's a reasonable spot to start Brown if you need to this week.
So, in short, AB should be rostered. You could start him at wide receiver 3 this week or as flex. Not necessarily a must start yet. I think he's a must be on your roster or at least must be picked up in leagues that are out there. So let's see how his performance.
I mean, there's a chance he's the best wide receiver on that team, and that says a lot because Godwin and Evans are no slouches, man.
Yeah. All right, so let's move over to PPR flex. Trey Burton, Jordan Wilkins, Logan Thomas. Who do you have?
I think we'll probably go with Jordan Wilkins there. I know it's a tougher matchup with Baltimore, but those guys are thin tight end plays that I'd go with the running back there. And on the defense, Ravens, I'd probably go with the Ravens defense, even though it's on the road at the Colts. I mean, I think they can do something to Phillip Rivers.
Cool. All right. Is it worth keeping Mike Davis and Nyheim Hines as handcuffs to McCaffrey and Taylor? I think until you see CMC play, you should hold on to Mike Davis if you have him, and you are rostering CMC. I don't necessarily have an opinion on Hines. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's prudent to keep Mike Davis at this point, Yasin, and then Hines you don't need to keep. If you need to liberate the roster spot, you can feel free to do so.
Cool. We have a question from Jordan Miller asking if Zeke is a hold in Dynasty. I think yes. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he has to be. Yes. This isn't the time to move him in Dynasty.
Yeah, I agree. Aiden has a question. Will Fuller, Crowder, or Chase Edmonds? Let's assume PPR.
Boy, we got Fuller as basically a wide receiver 13 and Chase Edmonds is a top 10 running back. I think you got to go Edmonds. He's got the backfield to himself. This is what you've been waiting for.
Yeah. Okay, great. Let's talk half PPR, Le'Veon Bell, Zach Moss, or Crowder if he's trending towards playing Sunday morning. Let's assume for this question that he will be playing. Who do you have?
I mean, I lean towards Zach Moss. But if Crowder goes, I mean, just based on his target share, you can make a pretty good case for him. Let me just see what the matchup is for Crowder. It's New England. It's a middling matchup. Man, I'd go Zach Moss there.
Okay. Let's take a look at Crowder or Galladay, PPR, rest of season. He got offered Galladay for Crowder straight up. I am concerned about his injury. Mark says, I am also concerned about his injury. I'm thinking it's going to be at least 2 weeks, maybe another week, if not longer. So, yeah, I am nervous about Galladay, but it's not like Crowder's injury history is any better, certainly this season. So, I would personally go Galladay rest of season.
If I was in first or second place in my league, then I would go after Galladay. If I was battling for playoff position right now or a losing team in my league that needed to win now, I'd probably go with Crowder if we find out that his health is going to prevail this week.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's fair advice. All right, let's go to Mac Evans. All right, Antonio Brown. Is he going to eat into Mike Evans or Chris Godwin targets more? We already talked AB quite a bit. I think the obvious answer is yes, because it's Antonio Brown, and there's another very legitimate wide receiver on that offense now. Is there anything to even argue with that at the moment?
I don't think there's any escaping that. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we saw the passing volume in this offense tick up a little bit as they start to try to heat that offense up down the stretch for a playoff run, but that's not something we can guarantee. So, yeah, he's going to eat into their target share more than likely.
Agreed. All right, we have a running back question. Rojo or Zach Moss?
All right. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, we have Ronald Jones at 23 and Zach Moss at 24. Boy.
So coin flip, basically.
Yeah. I think I would go with Moss. I mean, we got him one apart here. I'm gonna make that change here. I don't trust Ronald Jones. I think Moss could get the goal line carry, and I'm just very concerned that Ronald Jones doesn't have an opportunity to get that.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. I think Rojo is just a bit risky, and Leonard Fournette is still Leonard Fournette. So, you make one mistake if you're Rojo, and all of a sudden there's a guy who would be a starter, a 3-down back that you're competing with for time.
Yeah, it's two players going in opposite directions, and I think getting involved in this matchup at home against Seattle, it's a good spot to get in on Moss, and I just like that he has a higher propensity to get the goal line carry.
Yeah. All right. We have a question from Robert Pirine. Brian Hill or Peterson in the flex. We're talking about LaMichael Pirine of the Jets, I assume. We made a joke last week that you don't want, the other Pirine, and then we went ahead and switched down.
Oh boy, man, that was starting to feel painful for Gio Bernard owners last week. Good thing they got the suck out in the second half there. Boy, Robert Ewing dumpster diving, that's for sure. Let's see here, Pirine, Brian Hill, or Peterson. My instinct says Pirine here. Middling matchup. I think I would go with Pirine.
I'm not brave enough to make a guess here.
It's a crappy set of options. I mean, Brian Hill, you're betting on the come based on what you saw last week. That didn't work out earlier in the season. I think it's possible they spelled Gurley a little bit last week because he'd had monster volumes the two weeks before that. Granted, they're 2-6, so who knows what they're going to do. Peterson, that's been totally hit or miss lately. I mean, you got to pray for a touchdown. I think Pirine is the guy is getting some touches for sure. So that's probably the way I'd go. All
right. Hip Hop Save Me is asking, is CNC playing Sunday? I'll answer that one. We don't know yet. We'll probably find out later today. Probably find out. That doesn't mean it's guaranteed. He could be activated and ready to go as late as Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern. So there is no answer to is CMC playing Sunday until the team announces that he will be playing. I know it's frustrating as a CMC manager. You just can't. You don't know what to do. You really want to slot him into your RB1 spot, but there's just there's some clarity, but it's not crystal clear yet. So we don't know what's going to happen on Sunday. Let's move over to Engram or Fant. Half point, PPR, who are we starting? I think this comes out of people are frustrated with Engram in general for 3 years now. And Fant is Fant. So I don't know how I would go in this. What do your rankings say?
It's sad what's happened with Engram. It's funny from a scouting perspective, Yasin, which, that's what I'm entrenched in, man. These are actually two very similar players, but this is an easy call. It's Noah Fant all day, every day.
Cool. All right. Calvin Ridley, alert says they feel good, but facility is closed. If he plays not full strength and need a win this week. So what are our thoughts on this? I say, as always, with a player who's injured, have a backup plan, especially somebody coming back first game out of an injury. You don't really want to feel too comfortable because you're going to get in for a world of hurt by playing this person in a slot that could otherwise go to somebody who's certainly fully healthy and isn't going to be limited back from injury. So I'm nervous about Ridley, and we are not going to get much clarity today because the facility is closed. I think that sort of answers it. It's a risky play. Well, what do you got, Byron? Anything additional there?
Actually, per the Fantasy Life app update here a few minutes before this broadcast, I saw that Raheem Morris in Atlanta declared that Calvin Ridley was actually looking pretty good. So to me, if you're in a must win and we're hearing that he looks good and we think he's going to play, you're playing him unless you have like a solid other wide receiver 2 that you can pivot to.
Okay. I think we're somewhat in agreement there, but I don't like playing injured players in general, especially first.
None of us do, you know what I mean? But Calvin Ridley's been a monster this year, and if it's must win, it's hard to bench a guy like that unless you've got a good option, man. I don't want to go to Russell Gage as a backup. I better have, I want to have a good option there,
Yeah. All right. Trade question from Nicholas. Trade offer I received, give A.J. Brown and Kenny Drake to get Dobbins and Kelsey. If this was any position other than a tight end one, probably wouldn't do the trade, only because, again, I have a very strong opinion. I have a negative opinion of Dobbins. I have a very strong opinion of any top-tier tight end. So I think you're always getting really good value because the tight end position is so thin. I know I say it every week, but if you can get Kelsey, in most scenarios, that's a slam dunk. Are you overpaying? I don't really know. What do you think this is overpaying, Byron?
Yeah, as long as you don't leave yourself too thin at wide receiver, Nicholas, this is a no-brainer, man. You run to the computer, pull the trigger on this deal. And I'm a little bit surprised that you are anti-J.K. Dobbins, Yasin.
Well, look, last week we discussed this, right? We talked about Gus Edwards, and everybody was saying, "Oh, Dobbins definitely the guy with Ingram out." And I said, I think the team likes Gus Edwards as the goal line back. And I know the snap counts and the opportunities were there for Dobbins, and he looked good on paper last week, and he looked good on film last week. The thing is, I still think Gus Edwards is a legitimate. He's the guy that they seem to be going to, and will continue to go to for goal line carries. And I think we saw that last week. I mean, Dobbins had more snap counts. They both had about the same number of carries, and they both had similar stats. So, Dobbins, I don't know what his long-term value is when Ingram comes back. And now that they're getting to see Gus Edwards in action, I just think it becomes a more crowded backfield. So, yeah, I'm not too excited about Dobbins. You seem to be excited about Dobbins.
Dobbins is a stud, and he's the future there. And there's, sometimes you start to let that open Pandora's box. It's hard to put that thing back in there. No, you raise legitimate concerns. I do think it will degenerate probably to a timeshare that's going to eat into things. But Dobbins is the upside guy that I continue to say he's a nice stash if you own him, and you just hoping that maybe things start to go the DeAndre Swift route, which isn't totally out of the question. I don't think you can bank on it. But look, and I'm a Gus Edwards guy. I mean, I'm a huge Gus Edwards guy, so I get all that. And I'm with you. It's a tough matchup on paper against the Colts this week, but I mean, I still roll out Edwards, no problem if Ingram is out. And but the flip side of that is Dobbin is the more explosive dude, and in a tough matchup, sometimes that's the guy who can, create a little bit more. So I like them both this week if Ingram doesn't play.
Okay, fair. When we take a look at this year, to your first point where you said, he's the future in Baltimore, I'm talking about 2020. So season long this year, that's cute that he's the future of that franchise in the backfield. But this year, I'm just not confident in Dobbins. I'm just not too big of a fantasy fan.
Well, I don't think he's going to win your league unless we hear about a sustained injury to one of these other guys. But if there is, he is a league winner in that case. Now, I don't think we can bank on it. I mean, you probably need both of them to get injured for a little while. But, I mean, I just think I get it. They have some incentive to start seeing what they have there and developing that player if he's the future. But it is 2020.
Yeah. So we have some people asking questions that we've since answered. So let me skip around a little bit here. This person needs a play between Mike Williams, Sterling Shepard, or DJ Chark in PPR. I'll take my first stab at it and cancel one of these guys, who's DJ Chark, only because we don't know what's going to happen with that offense with the new quarterback. So I'm not rolling DJ Chark out this week until we find out how it works.
And we are going to tilt that one. I know Sterling Shepard's been looking good, but you got to tilt that one to Mike Williams. You're still a little worried that Mike Williams the floor can fall out in any given week, but 2 of the last 3 weeks have been big. It's a nice matchup, and Herbert is he's so good, man. You want a piece of that, so I think you go Mike Williams there.
Yeah, I agree with that. And again, if you're deciding between Sterling Shepard and Mike Williams, my personal opinion is Williams, but I'm certainly not rolling out DJ Chark. He's it's a new quarterback.
Yep.
All right, pick 2: Christian Kirk, AB, DJ. If Chris Carson is out.
I think you're pretty obviously playing DJ if Carson is out. I mean, I believe it was a couple of touchdowns that really made it look nice this last week, but still, I think that's what you're going to definitely be looking at. And then AB or Christian Kirk. I mean, I'm probably going to go. Ooh, that's tough. That's a tough one, man. I think I might go AB, man. I mean, Christian Kirk has been good lately, but the volume has still just not been there. It's been a little bit of a thin play that's panned out because he's gotten in the end zone or made a couple of big plays. I don't know, man. I think AB might get some looks this week.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think he's wanting to – look, I could be really wrong here, but I don't think AB is going to get the Gronk treatment in week 1, where he just looked like he had, I think, no targets week 1.
Yeah.
I don't think AB is the same – is it the same – let's just say I think Gronk had a lot more gap to fill in terms of his physical prowess this year.
Yeah, and I don't think it's what Brady or Arians has in mind. And this is a huge game in the division against New Orleans. And there's a real chance that Godwin could be kind of a decoy this week. I mean, he's just now wearing a special glove and even thinking about catching passes, even though he's been, limited in participation this week, coming off the finger surgery. I mean, if he's a decoy, that's pretty big for Antonio Brown. I think that's a real possibility.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so we talked about Antonio Brown. Let's talk about his cousin Hollywood Brown versus Amari Cooper in the flex, half PPR. I'm personally going Hollywood because I think Lamar sort of conceded that they need to get him the ball more. And I just there's nothing I want about Dallas's offense. So while Amari Cooper should be rostered everywhere, I'm not excited about playing any of those receivers. So for me, it's by default Hollywood Brown. How do you have them ranked?
Yeah, you got that one right, Yasin. We have Hollywood Brown as our number 20 wide receiver on the week, about 10 spots higher than Amari Cooper.
Cool. All right. We have another trade question. Who wins this trade? Team A gets Myles Gaskin, CMC, Mark Andrews. Something.
Everybody.
He's getting everybody.
I think he wins.
I think that person wins. Oh, here we go. All right, we're not showing the whole thing here. I can see the whole comment here. So Team A gets Myles Gaskin, CMC, Mark Andrews, Jamal Adams, and Jonathan Taylor. Team B gets Todd Gurley, Janu Smith, and Derek Carr. I think Team A wins.
I mean, it's A easily.
By a lot.
I think this guy came on here to toot his own horn, Yasin.
Yeah. So just so you guys know, while we're speaking about Zeke, the news that's coming out right now is that Zeke was more limited than expected in yesterday's practice. If you guys remember, the injury was suffered to his hamstring while he was chasing down the fumble that was returned for a touchdown in the game, and they didn't expect him to be as limited as he was. I expect if that hasn't been, it just got sent out, so you guys just got it on your on the Fantasy Life app as well. But that's new news about Zeke. It looks like he was more limited. I think that, look, if it's Friday now and they're talking about him being more limited, that to me makes me wary that they're not going to roll him out as they typically would for their game on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I tried like hell to talk myself into starting Jerick McKinnon over Zeke Elliott last night, and I think it was a very reasonable take. The reason I didn't do it is I'm still waiting on word on like guys like Gus Edwards that I'm planning to slide in over Zeke if I can. I had too many options, I felt, to make the decision on a Thursday night, and I'll tell you what you're hoping for is if you own Tony Pollard, you're just hoping that Zeke is flat out out this week. Yeah. And granted, it's a tough matchup against Pittsburgh. You're not thrilled about any of those dudes, but I think Pollard, he can catch the ball in that game, in that type of game script. And if he could get all the run, then I think he would become sneaky. But dude, I mean, Zeke is a running back. Like, he's a flex right now. I mean, that's just all there is to it. And it's unclear that even if and when Dalton ever returns, how much that improves the situation at this point.
Yeah. All right, we have another running back question. This is a rest of season question. Do you like Aaron Jones or Chubb rest of season? I like Aaron Jones. What do you got?
I want the healthier player, Aaron Jones. Yeah.
Yeah, he proved he was healthy last night.
Yep.
The word on the street, by the way, is that he played more than they typically would have played him after they were down to just two running backs. So that was the story there.
Two bad running backs.
Yeah,
Tyler Urban and Dexter Williams.
And then one of them was out for a while. So
yeah,
I think that just forced Aaron Jones into the mix. All right, Jordan has a quarterback question: Derek Carr or Matt Ryan this week? Matchups.
Well, there's a reason to be interested in Derek Carr this week. That is absolutely true. But Matt Ryan is still going to come in our top 12, a couple spots ahead of Derek Carr. We'll go with Matt Ryan, especially if he gets Ridley in there.
Okay. Dakota has a question. Will the Vikings offense be able to support both Thielen and Jefferson for a decent turnout this week against the Lions? Obviously, they've done pretty well so far in the season. They're both doing pretty well. But against the Lions defense, what do you think? How do you have them ranked this week?
I think if the bar you're setting is decent, then yeah, I think that the offense can support two decent outcomes by those players. I'm not sure that it can support 2 huge games by those players, especially with Dalvin Cook back in the mix, and it's still Kirk Cousins. But the greater point here is that I do believe in a competitive situation, Kirk Cousins has some sneaky appeal at home in this game against Detroit. It's actually a sneaky situation for Cousins this week, Yasin, if you've got to go dumpster diving for quarterback.
Cool. Crowder or Galladay PPR rest of season. We already answered this question. Let's go to okay. Outlook now as we look at an active AB. So this person has a follow-up question to a question they asked us a few weeks ago. Deontay Johnson, rest of season or AB? How about we ask the question that way?
I think it's Deontay Johnson. I mean, last week was not good. He was actually 77% snap count for Claypool, Juju, and Deontay. To the T for all 3 of them, and he only got 3 targets. It's close, man. I think I'd go Deontay just based on what we saw earlier in the season.
I think AB has the higher upside. I think Deontay is the safer, higher floor. So for me, I think it's dependent on your team and what your record is. So it depends. I think there's an argument to be made that you should roster AB depending on what your record is, and you should roster Deontay Johnson if you need some. If you can't really afford to waste a roster spot on somebody that might end up being a dud. All right, let's ask standard league flex. Dobbins or Jordan Howard? Oh, what an ugly question. Those are not exciting.
Well, it's an interesting question. Have we gotten any more word on Matt Breida today? I mean, it's starting to appear that Howard is like a sneaky guy to kind of look at this week. I mean, it sounds disgusting and it's very painful to even contemplate, but that is the simple truth. I mean, Dobbins is going to be ranked higher, and I'm not going to deviate from that, but the big point is if it's down to Howard this week, that's a little bit sneaky.
I feel like it's sneaky in DFS. It's not something I would really.
I would marginal flex play if you're in a bad situation in season long. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I agree with that completely. All right, Dobbins or Jackson in PPR. What are your thoughts there?
All right. Well, we have Dobbins at, what did I say? Dobbins was at number 16. And then Justin Jackson we have at number 19. So we'll go with Dobbins.
Okay. If both start, who do you like more, Godwin or Ridley?
I'd play Ridley.
Okay.
I mean, I think, dude, it's a receiver with a broken finger and the receiver's first order of business is catching the football. I guess you got to be able to run, too, with the balky foot. I like what I heard out of Raheem Morris earlier about Ridley.
Yeah, okay, I can't argue with that. Okay, so let's take a look at touchdown-only league. Is Gallman better than Bell or Ruggs or both? How would you rank these 3 in a touchdown-only league? I'm not skilled enough to have a strong opinion on this, to be honest. If it's touchdown dependent, maybe Gallman.
I would go Gallman, except for the fact that I thought yesterday we saw the news come in that Devontae Freeman was looking like if Freeman plays, I want nothing to do with Gallman or any of those guys. So if there's no Devontae Freeman, the answer is Gallman. If Freeman plays, then I'd probably go with Ruggs. I mean, and it's a decent matchup for Bell, but you saw what happened last week. I mean, you can't trust that. I'd probably go with Ruggs if Freeman plays.
Yeah, so on Freeman, the update there as of yesterday is, he did miss practice the day before. He was limited in practice yesterday. So his status for Sunday is unclear. And on the question itself, I actually changed my mind after thinking about this a little more. I would actually go Bell only because of the volume of touchdowns. They can, if it's touchdown dependent, I think Bell has the highest chance of maybe scoring. I think it's between Bell and Ruggs, but I would probably go Bell because I have more confidence in running backs and on a high-powered offense. Where if you can receive, I would go Bell.
It's a reasonable take. I probably feel a little bit burned as a Bell owner last week. I mean, but hopefully it won't be the same kind of blowout. I mean, that was such a blowout that they just went to their running back 3 and 4. You know what I mean? It was too big of a blowout.
Yeah.
Truthfully.
In what many are saying is the biggest news of the day, TJ Yeldon is not practicing for a third straight day. Wow.
Old TJ Yeldon, man. Turning into a journeyman.
Antonio Brown or Cole Beasley this week. Let's assume PPR. I'll answer this one first. I like Beasley. I like Beasley more than what I think majority of people are what their thoughts are on Beasley. I think he's great in PPR. I think he's consistent and reliable. He has a great floor and has proven that over the weeks, and AB is an unknown. That's my take. What's yours, Byron?
I'd probably go with Antonio Brown. I don't disagree with anything you said about Beasley. It's actually a good matchup. I think this is close. Beasley is probably a decent low-end guy, but with John Brown back, it's just unclear where all these targets are going to end up for the Bills, and I just expect Antonio Brown to be involved.
Cool. Melvin Gordon, is he worth keeping?
Yeah, I think Gordon is a sneaky RB2 the rest of the season that you can actually buy low on right now.
I agree with that. All right. J-Rob, AJ Brown in the flex.
I think you got to go with the running back here in a great matchup.
Yeah,
James
I agree
Robinson.
with that. I'm always leaning towards starting a running back over a wide receiver anyway in flex. So my default is leaning towards running back.
The touches, you know what I mean? You feel like you got a little better chance of a score with those guys. I mean, it makes sense. I think that's
cool. Ryan has a question. He needs to start 2 in PPR, Le'Veon Bell, Damian Harris, or Cole Beasley. PPR, I'm locking in my guy Cole Beasley. Who do you have? Because I don't know which one I prefer. I think I prefer Damian Harris, and I can't believe I'm saying that about a New England Patriot running back. But I think I'm going Beasley and Damian Harris. Who do you got, Byron?
Well, we'll make this a collaboration. You give him Beasley, I'll give him Harris. How about that?
All right, cool. So we're in agreement. Where do you have, out of curiosity, at Rosterwatch, where do you have Damian Harris ranked, and where do you have Le'Veon Bell ranked?
Damian Harris, number 20. Le'Veon Bell, number 30.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we got that one right. Okay. We have a question asking about Claypool, Godwin, AB, Marvin Jones. Sit 1, standard scoring.
Well, you got to figure out which Bucs receiver you're going to sit.
I agree with that. Because I'm starting Marvin Jones. I feel like Marvin Jones is really solid here.
I mean, he could screw you, obviously, but he's the attention's on him this week. He's come into focus as a play this week. It's a better argument than playing both. I could see playing both Bucs wide receivers just based on the offense, but that's just it's a difficult argument to make. So Jones, Claypool, pick your best Bucs wide receiver. We said earlier that would be AB over an injured Godwin.
So some news is coming out now. I expect this to come out on the Fantasy Life app in a few seconds. But Jerry Jones does expect Ezekiel Elliott to play versus Pittsburgh. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to over-engineer this thing, but man, I mean, I really think this is time to start benching Zeke Elliott if you've got other decent options. I mean, those are, sometimes you can outsmart yourself, but sometimes, dude, those are the expert moves too. Like, we have the information. He's not a good play. It's a bad matchup. It's a bad situation. Everything's bad about that situation this week. I think you look to try to bench Zeke Elliott if you can this week.
If you have other options, he's still starting.
I mean, you got to have a Gus Edwards, have somebody like that feels like a good flex this week, man. I would probably do it.
Yeah, the other thing with hamstring injuries is they linger. They do affect people's performance for several weeks. So hamstring injuries for somebody that relies on those hamstrings is tough. I mean, he's not a wide receiver, and I think they tend to affect receivers more.
And this Pittsburgh defense is vicious, man. They tried to eat Lamar Jackson alive last week. This is going to be bad. Yeah, this is going to be bad for the Cowboys. I mean, I'm playing Gus Edwards, Leonard Fournette, Dobbins, any of those kind of guys over Zeke Elliott this week.
Yeah, Zeke is tough, and sorry to everybody that drafted him, but it can't feel too bad because people that drafted CMC, people that drafted Saquon Barkley, I'd say Zeke managers actually got the better end of the deal here.
Well, he got you wins the first part of the season, so hopefully you've got those on the ledger and you've been able to make some adjustments.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so on Zeke, I guess the long story short is it's a risky play this week. They're against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. If you have a reasonable backup that you can slot in, like a Gus Edwards type, if you don't have any more depth at the RB spot, strongly consider benching Zeke for the week. See how that hamstring, comes back, and even if he plays, see what his stat line looks like, and if he looked good on film and on paper, and then go back to the drawing board the following week. So I think Dallas offense is just incredibly disappointing this year for a lot of obvious reasons, but it does leave us with a lot of question marks around Zeke. And I think this week we're leaning towards sitting him for now.
Yep.
All right. So we have a question asking if Baker is a good pickup for rest of season. PPR shouldn't matter. They're also waiting to see, I guess, for rest of season on Luton. Is that how you pronounce it? And Tua. So between the three, who would you pick up for rest of season, or would you just leave them all on waivers? I would personally leave them all on waivers if you don't have unless you are in desperate need of a quarterback. But you have the waiver wire is not going to look. Those guys are going to fit into the other quarterbacks on the waiver wire, if that makes sense. None of them stands out to me as being so much better than all the other options that are going to be available to you the rest of the season on the waiver wire. Do you agree with that? Do you disagree?
I mean, I think to me it's pretty obvious. I'm going to try to stash any of these guys. It'd be Tua. I do want to make a small nuanced point here. Mostly, you are virtually, correct in saying that the format doesn't matter at PPR or standard in terms of a quarterback. If you zoom out a little bit, though, quarterbacks are a little bit less valuable in general in PPR leagues because there's more points scored in those leagues by the other players. And so the proportion of points that a quarterback puts up versus the whole of the points is a little bit smaller. It's a nuanced point down a rabbit hole, and I don't think it affects this decision. But
if we had a cool producer that could make cool things happen on our screen right now, I would have dazzled your face as you gave that pro tip right there, that quarterbacks don't mean as much in PPR leagues, and here's why. That would be like a snippet that I would share with everybody week to week.
Oh, I'd love to cut that and drop it on social media, man.
Yeah. All right, we have a question from Francis saying half-point PPR, DJ Chark, Jerry Judy, Tim Patrick, if he plays. I'm still not excited about any of these options. I'm probably not playing DJ Chark. I don't know. These are middling options here, so I might actually play DJ Chark in flex, but I'm really not excited about that situation with the new quarterback. Who do you have between these three?
Yeah, I'm actually excited about Jerry Judy in this one and the rest of the season. He's been a sneaky guy to obtain off the waiver wire, even as a basically, just a throw in on trades in recent weeks. And here's why. We've got Drew Lock back. Jerry Judy is going to be the clear lead wide receiver for that team rest of season. It was 10 targets last week on an 89% snap count. It's the number one matchup of the week for fantasy quarterbacks. Denver at Atlanta, 50-point game total. It's a little bit tough to run on Atlanta. So I like Jerry Judy in this one. It's the number 3 matchup of the week for fantasy wide receivers.
Great. All right. We're going to do some rapid fire question and answers for the next 10 to 12 minutes, where we're going to try to answer as quickly as possible. No commentary, because we're a bit behind on the questions, and I want to try to answer as many as possible. Ready? Mm-hmm. You have your rankings up?
Yes.
Let's go. James Robinson, A.J. Brown, flex PPR.
James Robinson.
Are we trading Tyler Lockett and Chris Carson for Derrick Henry and Justin Jefferson, 10-man standard league? I'm saying yes.
Yeah, I want Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and Chris Carson's injured. Who knows if it lasts longer?
Yep.
We'll see. Highest floor, high ceiling, half-point PPR, Antonio Brown, Dobbins, or Jonathan Taylor? Highest floor, high ceiling. High ceiling?
I think the answer is probably Dobbins to both questions.
Really?
It's arguable, but I would say Dobbins.
Okay, fair. I think I agree with you on floor. I might go ceiling on Antonio Brown for the rest of the season. Would you trade Justin Jackson to Eckler owners? Yes.
Yep.
Will AB have a 13-plus point game this? We can't answer that. Maybe.
If he scores a touchdown, he will.
Yeah. Start 2 of 4 running backs this week. Taylor, Gibson, Singletary, Dobbins. I think you're going Dobbins. You're going Gibson, Dobbins. There we go. Happy Friday. Well, thank you. Happy Friday to you as well. Half point PPR, Jerry Judy, Kirk, Rojo, one wide receiver, 1 flex.
Judy for sure. I think I go Judy and Kirk here, man.
I mean,
I think it just feels like such a. What are you really hoping for with Rojo? I don't know, man. It feels like you're in a box. Yeah, exactly.
Godwin or Corey Davis in standard from Kathy?
I can't bench Chris Godwin for Corey Davis. I'm sorry.
Okay. PPR flex, Amari Cooper, Sterling Shepard, J.K. Dobbins. Yeah, I'm not starting Cooper. Let's see.
This poor guy.
Thielen, Jefferson, Adams, like Devontae Adams?
Is there an Adams I'm not thinking of right now?
Yeah, the answer is I don't think so. I think it's just Devontae Adams.
Well, if we got to pick between the other two, it's still Thielen.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's Adams, unless we're not thinking of the right Adams here. But Devontae Adams is the top guy there. But Thielen over Jefferson is the answer. Crowder or Galladay? We already answered this. Let's take a look at Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, standard league, better running back the rest of the season. If it's standard, I think it's Derrick Henry.
Agree.
If it's PPR, I think it might still be Derrick Henry. Maybe.
Yeah, it's close.
It's close. Opinion on Emmanuel Sanders rest of season? It doesn't excite me too much.
Yeah, don't waste too much time thinking about it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Thoughts on Carson this week? Also, how about Sanders and Eckler? Let's assume Chris Carson. Again, we don't know. We'll find out later today, so we can't really give an answer there. But Miles Sanders and Eckler.
Yeah, Miles Sanders, one of my number 1 trade targets in all of fantasy, Yasin. If you can get your hands on him, I mean, he would be a really great player to add for down the stretch. And Eckler, if you're in first or second place and you have the luxury to stash Eckler, I would absolutely attempt to do that as well. I mean, if you're in first or second place, you should be looking at all the big name injured players out there and seeing if you can still bring them over for cheap and stash them for your playoffs.
Yeah, really smart strategy. PPR need 2 to start: Shepard, Hall, Chenault, or Wilkins.
Shepard and probably Wilkins, right? I mean, Shepard and Wilkins or Shepard and Chenault. I think it's going to be difficult, probably difficult not to go with Wilkins. I say Shepard for sure, and then Chenault or Wilkins. I can't trust Marvin Hall. I'm sorry. I get it, but I can't. I just can't do it.
And to that same point, I can't trust Chenault this week, only because of the quarterback situation.
Fair.
I'd rather wait. All right, let's take a look. PPR, need a bye week fill-in. Are we going Gus Edwards or Wayne Gallman? And I think the answer from both of us is going to be 1, 2, 3, Gus Edwards. That was terrible timing. We'll get it right.
I don't have great rhythm.
That's okay. Risk Jamison Crowder on Monday night or Randall Cobb or Emmanuel Sanders. I can't play Randall Cobb.
You can't?
It's still, I mean, it's the team.
All right. I mean, yeah, I guess wait for Crowder. I might go Cobb. I don't have a real thing against Cobb. I mean, he's been decent lately, but if you can wait for Crowder, I think that's the play. He's been a league leader in targets. You're
going to find out, to answer your question, Paul, you're going to find out about Crowder most likely, or at least get a little more clarity by tomorrow, Saturday, 4:00-ish. You should have a designation on his status for the game. That will help you shape that decision on Monday night.
Yep.
Trade Lockett or Michael Thomas for Devontae Adams? Yes and yes. Is that right?
Of course. Yeah, that's one of the rare 1-for-1 interpositional trades that makes any sense because somebody's getting one over on the other one.
Yeah, I don't think the Adams owner, especially with recent performance, is going to give that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and somebody said if you can trade any wide receiver for Devontae, I think we agree. Rager or Chark rest of season? This is
Rager.
Okay. Fuller or Thielen?
I think I'll go Fuller.
Okay. I think I'd go Thielen, but I understand why people would go Fuller.
Two pretty good options.
Fant or Goddard, half PPR? Goddard.
Rest of season, man. I think I'm going to go with Fant.
I don't blame you. You also have Ertz, who's going to come back from IR at some point, and he wasn't performing before he went on IR, but it could turn into.
I feel a little burned about what happened this last week with Goddard. I mean, I like Goddard. It's the sticking point here is rest of season. Ertz is going to be back sooner than later. So.
Well, take a look at Goddard's recent few games. I mean, he doesn't have that many targets and receptions anyway, so I just don't trust. I don't even trust Ertz when he's back that much. So.
Fant is a pretty solid fantasy tight end right now.
Yeah. Let's take a look. Chenault, Patrick, or Gage, half PPR.
If you can, I'd try to play Tim Patrick if I could.
Yeah, of those options, I would. Are we playing Josh Allen or Tom Brady?
We have Josh. It's going to be Josh Allen.
Yeah, because of the matchup, right?
Josh Allen is our number 5 quarterback. Brady's our number 9 quarterback.
Yeah. All right. Mostert, Mixon, Galladay, and Drake are on IR. Yes, they are. Apologies about that. You need one for half PPR. Fournette, Moss, and Gallman if Freeman is out, which it doesn't really look like Freeman is going to be out at the moment. But I think we're going Fournette. Do you disagree?
No, I'd probably go Fournette there. I got Fournette a few spots ahead of Moss in our rankings.
Yeah, okay. If Stafford starts, are we playing him or Derek Carr? I think we're playing Derek Carr.
Derek Carr. Yep. Yes, we are.
All right. Tannehill, Ryan, Luck. Oh, Lock, I assume. I was very confused for a moment. Like, he's not back. I know he's not back. But it's one of those weeks where maybe I missed something. Or Cousins, sorry.
We have Matt Ryan ranked atop that heap, one spot in front of Tannehill. And especially if Ridley goes, you can make an argument for Tannehill if Ridley doesn't play.
Okay. I think I'm going Ryan out of those options. If Andrew Luck did come back, I'd probably start him. But the person's asking about Drew Lock. All right, Scott, hopefully that helps you. Let's answer Kathy in standard. We already answered that question. These repeat questions, man. What's a fair player-for-player trade for Mike Evans? I think a low, maybe high wide receiver 2.
Well, you're not going to trade wide receiver. Oh, wait. You're going to – unlikely you'll trade wide receiver for wide receiver. More than likely, for Mike Evans, if you're trying to obtain Mike Evans, you would like to send like a sell high, low-end RB2 would be ideal. Somebody who's been overperforming that's RB2, I think would be the way to go. And if I was trading Mike Evans, I would want a underperforming, like low-end RB1 is what I would be aiming for.
Yeah. Okay. Are we trading Zeke for Edmonds? I think no.
If I need a win this week, I sure as hell am.
Okay, fair.
I mean, if I need wins the next couple of weeks, I'm looking at Drake's status to get a pulse on that, and I would do it, man.
Yeah, I mean, it is crunch time for a playoff season. So
week 9. I mean, this is the stretch here to get in. You got to get off the bubble and into the playoff field.
Yeah, that's right. We answered that question. This person says, hi. Hello. Are we dropping AJ Green and picking up and stashing Rager?
Yes. If you've got Higgins, yes.
Okay. Is it crazy to sit Zeke while starting Le'Veon Bell and Moss or even Crowder? The answer is no. We discussed that earlier. We still agree with that, correct?
Correct.
Devontae Parker, Claypool, or Justin Jefferson for flex?
Jefferson.
Okay. Should I pick up Cam Akers or nah? I'd say nah, probably not.
you don't have to lose a lot of sleep worrying about it. If you've got an empty spot and maybe you're looking for running back depth, you can do it.
Yeah.
You might drop him next week. We'll see, but
yeah. All right, CEH or Josh Jacobs, PPR.
I think picking up Akers while we wait for Henderson's status is smart. CEH I would go Jacobs.
Okay. Would you trade Kelsey and Fuller for Camara?
Only if I had it depends on my roster situation. How thin am I at running back? How deep am I at wide receiver? And who's my tight end once Kelsey's off the roster?
Cool. All right, we have some news for you. Mohamed Sanu is being signed to the Detroit Lions practice squad, and the crowd goes mild. Nobody cares.
Was it third team in the last 12 months?
That's yeah.
How did the Patriots give up a second? I mean, the genius organization they are, that's one nobody will ever figure out how they traded a second-round pick for Mohamed Sanu last season.
I do not know.
Hey, even the smartest ones make mistakes sometimes.
That's right. Edmonds or Gurley for flex PPR?
Man, I think we're going to have Edmonds ranked a little bit higher here. No, we got to make sure that Drake is out, but yeah, we have Edmonds as our number 8 running back and Gurley as our number 10 running back.
Yeah, so. I was going to say, so you guys have them ranked similarly. I was about to say I wouldn't be upset or lose sleep over starting either one over the other. Mm-hmm. One is going to outperform, live with it, but at the moment you start either one of them and you shouldn't lose sleep over it.
I will say Gurley has been very, very underwhelming in terms of target share this year. If you're looking at it a PPR perspective, another thing to consider. But you obviously got to make sure Drake is 100% out, but looks like that's probably the case.
Yeah. So I have some questions that we already answered. So I'm just skipping forward to Brandy Cooks versus Jacksonville or CEH versus Carolina. Full PPR.
I think you're going to start Clyde, but I do like Cooks this week. It's going to be I got to tell you to start Clyde.
Okay. I think it's close also. I always tilt towards running back. So,
I mean, that's your stud, man. You're going to, if you lose like that, you'll at least be able to sleep at night, man.
Yeah.
You bench Clyde for Cooks, goes haywire, you'll be sick.
So we talked Dobbins and Zach Moss earlier. I don't remember if we compared them side by side. How do you have them ranked? I think you have Dobbins over Moss.
Indeed, we do. Yep, by a few spots.
Are we trading Russ, Ridley, and Zeke for Camara, A-Rob, and Kupp? Evan, you're making us think. Give us a moment.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Depending on who your other quarterback is, but almost certainly yes. Oh, Herbert. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, they have Herbert, so they can live with that, and they're getting away Zeke. Getting 3 starters. I
love Robinson's upcoming schedule. You love getting Camara. I think, Kupp is a decent player. I'll tell you what, he mentioned Jonathan Taylor. Sneaky thing there is weeks 10 through 15. Jonathan Taylor has a monster schedule. So we'll have to see what happens there. But he's a guy that's very sneaky, could help teams down the stretch if things return to normal there anytime soon.
Cool. Katie, we answered your question, Edmonds or Gurley, and Flex just a little bit ago. The answer is either one of them. Don't lose sleep over it. What is the situation with the Seattle backfield? I do not know. We do not know. There's not a lot of clarity there, but we will get some clarity on Chris Carson later today, likely. But until then, this guy emoji.
Yeah, situation is crappy.
Yeah. All right, so here's the thing with Michael Thomas. Is there any news update on Michael Thomas? There's been so many different reasons that he's been sitting out. At this point, it reminds me of AJ Green last year, where you're rostering him, you're waiting, you're holding, you're hoping, you drafted him high because you were hopeful, and all of a sudden this guy just isn't playing. And it's been like 3 or 4 random reasons, including a discipline issue. So there's probably always an update on Michael Thomas this year, but there's no clarity on if he's going to, if we can trust that he's going to be playing this week.
And it's a tough matchup this week in terms of, against the Tampa secondary. That said, if Thomas plays, if he's active, you're going to start him almost.
Yeah, exactly.
In all circumstances.
But we recognize the heartache that you're going through with Ross at the moment.
Hey, maybe that guy's hoping to trade for Michael Thomas if he's out one more week or something. I don't know.
It's true. I believe we answered this earlier. Let's take a look at Sony Michel returning from IR. Are we dropping Bell or P. Ryan for him? I think not.
I don't think so. Maybe P. Ryan. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it depends.
Bell is the only one I care about out of those three.
Yeah, I agree with that. Wide receiver 2 spot. Crowder, Evans, or Corey Davis?
I'll let you answer this one, Yasin.
Evans?
Give you the softballs here, man. Yeah, Mike Evans.
All right, injury report will be out after practice, but it doesn't look like running back Devonta Freeman is trending toward playing on Sunday, according to Dan Dugan. So heads up, it doesn't look like Devonta Freeman is trending towards playing on Sunday. Injury report, the official one will be out later. I'm not sure if we'll send that as an update since it's not official, but we will certainly send out the update on his actual status once the injury report goes out. Yeah, he was upgraded to limited yesterday, so I'm a little surprised about Devonta Freeman not looking like he'll play, but we'll see. That injury report will be out later today.
Yeah, it puts Wayne Gallman back into him. He's only a 45% snap count, 13 touches last week, 60-something yards. He got the touchdown. So it's not a great play, but, that's good. And it gives everybody one more low-end flex option this week if Freeman's out.
Yeah. All right, Allen Robinson, Will Fuller, McLaurin, Godwin, Antonio Brown. Standard league, we need to pick 3.
The first 3. And you should feel absolutely filthy about rolling those 3 guys out. You're going to destroy this week, William.
Yeah, good luck. Good work. Panda has a question. Edmonds or Gurley in flex? We answered that earlier. Don't lose sleep over it. They're both fine. Fournette or Harris over Zeke?
Fournette for sure, I think.
Yeah, and then I'm not even terribly upset if you go Harris over Zeke.
I'm not either. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure we're going to have Harris ultimately ranked a spot or 2 ahead of Zeke. So I think put both of them in.
AB or Chris Carson in flex. If Chris Carson is playing, you roll out Chris Carson over AB in flex.
Yeah. That's right.
CEH or Josh Jacobs? We might have answered this earlier.
The
answer was Josh Jacobs.
Yep.
Deontay Johnson, non-PPR, or Brandon Cooks?
Well, I can just go to our rankings for that. I want to say Cooks, but I don't want to shortchange anybody here. So let's see. We have Deontay Johnson. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We got Brandy Cooks on a good ranking this week, man. Yeah. So Brandy Cooks. I'm a little surprised. We have Brandy Cooks as our number 18 wide receiver of the week. I mean, that's definitely the highest he's ever been in the rankings all season.
Yeah. Are we dropping Jameson Crowder for one of them to play?
If I need a play, yeah. And I mean, I think I like both of them better. If Crowder's healthy, I don't think, do I like Crowder more than either of them? I don't think so, man. Let's get attached to the better quarterback situations and offenses here.
The other thing is it looks like Denzel Mims is actually living up to the hype. So
he's good.
That'll cut in a bit.
That's a great point, Yasin. When Crowder was getting all that target share, not to say that most of them won't return, but Mims wasn't involved at that point.
Yeah. Well, look, Mims has 4.
That kid's a stud.
Yeah, he's going to be great. 4 targets, 2 receptions in each of the last 2 games, or 4 targets, 2 receptions last game. I think he had 4 targets, 4 receptions. I might be off on the targets there. The week before, both for 42 yards. So, on a terrible Jets offense that can't get anything done, those are actually pretty great numbers for coming out of a rookie. So I'm excited about him.
Absolutely.
Juju, Justin Jefferson, Antonio Brown, PPR. Who do you got?
We have Justin Jefferson we have Justin Jefferson. Is it pick 1, I guess, is what he's asking for, right?
Yeah.
To choose his wide receiver 2, Jefferson.
Okay. Judy or Tim Patrick? I think the answer is Judy.
Yeah, Judy.
All right. Mooney or Jacoby Myers in half PPR? I can't start Jacoby Myers.
I actually think you can if you're totally desperate, but I would go to Mooney first. He's gotten the high value targets, It's a matchup with Tennessee that those game scripts have gone really well for high scoring fantasy affairs. And I like Nick Foles a lot this week. So I'll go with Mooney connected to Foles.
Yeah. All right. We have a strategy question. They're asking what they should do with Todd Gurley. I think we can even answer it without talking about Todd Gurley. But this person is 8-0. It seems because their opponents, they have the lowest points against, I would assume. If that's the case, but you're 8-0, I think you're in a position of perceived power, which means that you have leverage trading. So go ahead and trade if you can.
I think so. I mean, I don't hate keeping Gurley, but he's the kind of guy that if I can use him to get somebody I feel more comfortable with the rest of the season, it's a good time to do that with Gurley. He's got a really good fantasy profile to date, and the schedule definitely gets a little bit more difficult down the stretch. It's been a cakewalk lately.
Got it. Cool. All right, so let's go to started Hasty as my running back last night. Bust. Need upside at flex. CEH or Brandy Cooks. I think we might have. Answered.
The answer is Clyde.
Yeah. All right. This person had to trade Tyreek Hill for CEH and Tannehill. Doesn't matter why. I still have. I don't know what the question is. So let's go to Marquise Brown or John Brown. I'm going Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, Hollywood. But it is a reason to like John Brown this week. If people aren't really thinking about him as a sneaky player this week.
Yeah. All right. We're going to try to do continue doing one word answers. We need to go quick because we are down to the last 5 minutes. So Claypool, good flex week 9. Feel Steelers D will be enough for that game.
I don't think it's a great flex, but it's okay if you don't have any other options.
Juju or AB, PPR?
I'm going to go AB, man.
Tony Pollard, a good bench grab? Yes.
Yeah.
Start 2, Singletary, Moss, Dobbins, McKissick. Definitely Dobbins. And
Dobbins and Moss.
Probably Moss.
You feel pretty good.
The plan is still okay. So according to Pete Carroll, the plan is still to see how Chris Carson feels after he gets some work in today. So we still don't know. That's the latest we have. They're a West Coast team. It's 9 a.m. there, so they'll probably practice over the next few hours. We'll get an update on them late today. Are we dropping Breda for Gus Edwards and Gus Edwards or Ronald Jones non-PPR? I think you are dropping Breda because he's a 2-week fill-in, 2 or 3 week fill-in. What's your take on this? Because now that I say that, Gus Edwards is also maybe just a 2-week fill-in.
I'm trying to win now, man. When you're toiling with those dudes, you're trying to win now, man. So I want Gus Edwards, and then I would start him over Ronald Jones this week.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, Stafford if he plays, or Carr or Lock? Carr.
It's going to be Carr or Lock, and that's going to be close. Let me see here. We've got Carr.
Yeah, I'm going Carr.
We've got Carr ranked highest.
Okay.
I personally like Lock a lot this week, but we've got Carr higher.
Bennett is asking, should we start Jefferson or Juju?
Jefferson.
Okay. Man, Logan, you asked the same question like 4 times. You're making me lose track of these questions.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah. All right. PPR, Howard, Taylor, Edwards. Edwards for me. What do you have?
Oh, yeah, Edwards.
All right. Let's see. Deontay Johnson, Will Fuller. I believe we answered this earlier, and it was Will Fuller.
Yep. Great play this week.
Okay. Zach Moss or Fournette, half PPR. I think I'm going Fournette. Where are you going?
Yeah, slight edge to Fournette.
Chase Edmonds or David Johnson in standard?
Edmonds.
Yeah, Edmonds for me too. Deshaun Watson, Justin Herbert in standard? I think Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
PPR, need one running back. We answered this one. No, we didn't. We answered that one already. Jonathan Taylor or Justin Jackson in standard?
Jackson.
Okay. Swift, Cooper, or Bell in standard?
Swift.
Highest upside, week 9, Antonio Brown, CEH, Brandy Cooks.
What subterfuge? You always need to worry about making the best play. That's all subterfuge to think about highest upside. You want the guy who's going to be the best player that scores most points, and you can't argue it's anybody other than Clyde in this situation.
Yeah. Cole Beasley, Brandon Cooks. Let's assume PPR.
Cooks.
Bills or Eagles defense? What are you laughing at?
I know Yasin is crestfallen anytime something goes south with Cole Beasley here. Let me see here. Bills or Eagles? Well, it can't be the Bills against the Seahawks. That would be a terrible defensive play. I don't care who the Eagles are playing. They're not playing the Seahawks. So,
yeah.
Oh wait, no, he's talking about for the fantasy playoffs here.
That's a good point.
You got to look at the Eagles are on a bye. I was like, wait a second. You got to look at the schedules, man. I mean, you got to look at the schedules.
Yeah. All right. We have 1 minute left, and we've answered every question up until anything that's been asked up until 12 o'clock Eastern. So I think that's pretty darn good. And a lot of the other questions are being answered in the chat, which is great. Thank you for that, guys. But we're going to have to wrap up. I know we both have things going on today, so we got to end it a little early. But thanks, guys, for making time. Byron, you have any closing words you'd like to share? Maybe how awesome I am.
Yeah, Yasin, I get so much pleasure out of watching you as a burgeoning fantasy analyst, man, and a good host, too. So thanks for having me on, and appreciate all the viewers. And follow us over at Rosterwatch.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks again for making time. We will be back next week. Same thing. We'll do fantasy matchup breakdowns, and we'll be answering as many start-sit questions as possible. Yeah, check out Byron and Rosterwatch, rosterwatch.com. And I'm at Yasin, Yasin in the app. You can find me at You Found Yasin on Twitter. Oh, also, hold on. I forgot to do this like the first 4 weeks. What is it? Like, comment, subscribe to the channel.
That's right.
Like that. That's right. Like a legit YouTuber. There we go. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for joining, guys. We'll see you next week.